EA Interviews, Episode 41.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the Imperfect Action Round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Welcome, Expert Authority Nation. We got another great episode for you. I am excited to bring up P.J. Dixon from P.J.'s Wisdom. Have you ever felt like you're alone? Have you ever felt like you can't do something? Have you ever felt like you have a dream and you want to go after it? Well, P.J. is the epitome of perseverance. I met him a few years ago at a conference, and I'm telling you, I'm very honored and privileged to have him on the show because the way he has inspired me personally, I can't wait for him to inspire you. He has overcome so much, and he's going to share his story, and he has such a heart, and he is so relationship focused. He is so heart-centric focused, and he's a really cool guy.
We're going to have the epic conclusion to Part 2 with P.J. Dixon right after we thank our sponsor. How would you like to grow your wealth easier than you think with the change you probably don't notice anyhow automatically? That's why I started the Compounding Interest Snowball Investing with Acorns and advise you do too. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns.
All right, we are back live with the party, and I've got PJ from PJ's Wisdom here. We're going to jump into the Imperfect Action Round. PJ, are you ready to rock?
Let's do it. I love it.
What's the fastest path to the cash?
Ooh, fastest path to the... Let me try again. The fastest path to the cash. Ooh, tongue twister. One of my business coaches, Shanda Sumter, amazing, remarkable businesswoman and business coach, says the fastest way to cash is getting clients to do one-on-one coaching with you. And I would agree. And I would also add to that they don't have to necessarily do one-on-one, because if you have any following at all, why not put together a 1 month long event and you just say, hey, I'm going to meet every week and we're going to meet for an hour to an hour and a half. I'm going to teach you some things about this particular topic and I'm going to open up the floor for open, honest conversation. And to me, $97 for anybody who wants to sign up for the month, that's great. Why not do it? And that, to me, is the fastest way to cash. In fact, interestingly, I've coached 2 people, maybe 3 already this week that I use this strategy with. And I'm helping them to realize when they tell me, you know what, I'm really struggling with money, I need to figure this out. This is the first thing that I do. I say, okay, well, let's look at your skill set. Do you have a following? And if the answer is yes, cool. What skills do you have that would benefit certain people that you know? So can you identify people that you know? And the one guy, like literally right before you and I got on a call, he was like, or on this podcast, he said, I've got probably, 10, 20 or 30 people that I know I could definitely help with their business. And I've talked to about it. And I said, great, reach out to each one of them personally and say, I'm going to put together a month-long training or a 6-week-long training. And it's going to be $97 or $150 or whatever. And here are the things that I'm going to teach. But I'd also love to know what you'd like to learn. And I'm going to make it general enough for everybody to understand principles, but then I'm also going to open up the conversation so that you can ask me questions specifically about where you are in your business, so I can help you also coach you specifically. Fastest way to cash is to serve somebody. Give something to them right now that's helping them overcome a pain point or sticking point for them.
So the next question I got for you, on top of the fastest path to the cash, and I appreciate you for sharing, is what is the biggest problem you've seen in your audience and how do they get past it?
So are you asking me when I'm talking with other business people? Or
when people come to you and they say they need help with something, what's the recurring theme? What's the biggest problem you see that they face?
Self-doubt, not feeling good enough. And what happens is what we're really dealing with is the unconscious processing. About 95%, depending on the studies that you look at, about 95% of our cognitive behavior is unconscious, right? And so the programs that you were given when you were younger or in a previous relationship or a different job, the programming is, you've had somebody say something to you and you believed it, or you've seen something and witnessed it and experienced it, and that has caused a belief, then that programming, that belief that you're experiencing is creates a thought process, unconscious usually, that then causes a particular emotion. And then that from there causes the actions that you take or don't take. And that is the end result. So the biggest problem is when people say, well, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel like I'm worthy, right? And that whole lack mentality or scarcity or limiting beliefs, that idea comes from some program, something that they saw or witnessed, experienced, or were told or heard in their past that they unconsciously believed, and maybe consciously believed, but they've accepted it, and now it dictates who they are. So I like to say this. I say, think your thoughts. Don't let your thoughts think you. Think your thoughts. Don't let your thoughts think you. And what I mean is consciously choose what you want to think. And then there's a freedom, there's a bliss in that. But if instead you allow your thoughts to think you, meaning your thoughts think whatever they're going to think and you're subject to whatever they're saying, that means you're also subject to whatever emotions rise up. And that means that you become limited. That means you don't take action. That means that you hold yourself back. That means you doubt yourself. That means you think you're not good enough because something is playing in the background, unconscious, that you may not even know, that's saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not good enough. I don't know how to do this. I'm probably going to fail. What if I succeed? And then I don't know how to do that. And then I fail at being successful, right? So there's always this perceived danger. There's a big difference between real danger and perceived danger. If I'm running from that bobcat that I was mentioning, I wasn't actually running, but like when I came in essence face to face with that bobcat, and I was like twice. And when I came face to face with the bobcat and I started to back up, I had to change my position. That was real danger because as long as I stayed close enough for it to pounce on me, it was likely going to pounce on me. And so I had to move, I had to change, I had to shift. But that's real danger. What usually happens in our mind is perceived danger. I'm not good enough. And so if I do something and then I look foolish, then it's going to be embarrassing. Or what if I say this and the person gets angry, then I'm going to feel guilty. So what happens is that unconscious mind tells you you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not able enough. You don't know how. And it creates this fear and it creates this paralysis in you or causes you to do something completely different because believe it or not, it's trying to protect you. It's trying to keep you alive. It's trying to make you so that you can live longer. It doesn't care about the quality of your life. It just cares about life. It just wants you to live. But we want you to have quality of life. So this is why you get to think your thoughts and not let your thoughts think you. This is where you get to decide, this doesn't work for me anymore. This is where you get to, even if you get angry and you're like, this doesn't work for me anymore. I want something different. That's great because anger is a tool that inspires energy and gets you your power back. So you can take that next action. And it might not be that crazy energy. It might just be like, you know what? That doesn't work for me anymore. I don't want to believe that anymore. You know, like you said about the money, you're like, there's the old belief and there's the new belief. There's the new knowing and there's the old belief. It looks like this. Programming looks like this. Somebody said, you say, hey, I need a word processing program. And your parents give you Corel, Corel, old school. I don't even know if you know what that is. Right? And you send something to somebody, they're like, hey, send me an email with that document. And you're like, okay. And they get it and they open it up. They're like, why did you format it like this? It's real weird looking. And you're like, no, it looks great on my screen. They take a screenshot and send it to you. You take a screenshot and send it back to them. And they go, it looks fine on your end. It looks terrible on my end. What program are you using? And you go, oh, I'm using Corel. And they go, Corel? What's Corel? They're like, why are you using Microsoft Word? And I go, I don't know what Microsoft Word is. What do you mean? Why am I not using Microsoft Word? That's the problem. When we were younger or in previous relationships or with previous jobs or, you know, with a cousin or a sibling or somebody that we really admire and they say something to us that makes us then question who we are, we might have seen our parents do something. We might have heard something or overheard something. We might have had somebody tell us something. And that one time we believed it. That was the programming. But what happens if somebody goes, hey, you have a choice between Corel, which almost nobody uses, or you have a choice between Microsoft Word, which most people use. Which would you prefer? I go, well, I think I'm going to go with the Word. So now I have a choice. So now my belief is that I've got the tool that's going to help me be successful with everybody else. Because now I believe I got the right tool. But we don't consciously know most of the time where that programming came from. So this is what I do with my clients. I help them to identify where that programming came from. And then we realize, well, what's the other programming? Just like you said about the money, the old programming said money is scarce. You're never going to make it. People aren't, whatever it was that you heard people say, money doesn't grow on trees. It's rude to talk about money, whatever it is. The moment you shift that, all of a sudden when you shift, and by shifting, I mean, you give yourself another choice. Well, what's another program? Well, all the people that I know who have a lot of money are really kind. Okay. All of money actually gives me the ability to be able to play and enjoy my life and be able to share it. And it's so nice. I love to be able to give money to homeless people and take, food to the homeless shelter. And that just makes me feel so good. So I guess money can buy happiness. Wow. Okay. So you mean I could believe that money doesn't buy happiness and it doesn't grow on trees and it's difficult and it's always going to be scarce? Or I could believe that it's actually fun to make and it's fun to share, and spiritually it's okay for me to have a lot of it. And when I have a lot, my heart gets to shine even more and I get to be even more loving and more generous. And I get to go out and play and take people and family on vacations. Wow, what a great life. I'm going to choose that. Now, all of a sudden, when I choose, that's what my new belief becomes. When that becomes my new belief, then there's new thinking in my head. New thinking creates new emotions create new action, and we have a different end result.
It's a fantastic end result. I mean, so many people that I encounter in business too, it's the same thing. I don't go as deep as you as into the NLP and all of that, but so many people, it's like, I want to do this, and their limiting belief is here. It's like, maybe it's publishing a book. Maybe it's starting your own podcast. Maybe it's starting a video show. Well, I don't know if I can do it. I'm like, I didn't know either. I've never done that before. Well, of course you haven't done it before. That's why you're learning. I'm here to help. Right. So it's so important to get past those limiting beliefs. And my favorite part is the question I have for you next is, how do you maximize all of this? Once you implement it, you take the action, you resolve it. How do you maximize the lifetime value?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by lifetime value. I thought I understood the question until you added that. Can you ask it differently?
How do you keep all the changes you've implemented for the rest of your life?
Oh, now that's a fascinating question. That is not what I thought you meant. So what happens with NLP, for example, is once you reprogram your nervous system, the neural pathway in the brain changes. So the human brain is, in essence, pretty lazy. It wants to do the least amount of work to get the maximum value. And so it will create an information highway in the brain that it always goes this route, thinks this, behaves this way, and it creates this routine, it creates this habit. So it doesn't have to consciously think about it. It doesn't have to expend any additional energy. It goes, okay, do the default program, use that synaptic curriculum, right? The curriculum that says we go this, and we do this first, we do this first, we do our second, third, fourth, right? So now we've got this synaptic curriculum. We've got this program. We've got this process. And all habits are just a practice process. So the moment that you go back and you start to change that pathway, a friend of mine described it like this. She said, let's say you're snow skiing down this beautiful, beautiful mountainside. You're the first one on the mountain. You create this amazing trail. And then after you, there are 200, 300, 1,000 people that are skiing. And all of a sudden the snow starts to get kind of like packed down. And you wind up getting on the same trail that everybody else is on. That's what happens in your brain. Your brain gets stuck running the same process. And you can't seem to, I can't get off of this trail. I can't get on that fresh snow over there. You have to stop and consciously choose to step off of what you were doing and step onto a new path so that you can create a new trail. And the more you are able to create that practiced process, right, where you go, okay, so let me just, right, I'm creating a new synaptic curriculum. I'm creating a new habit. So I go over it again. Oh, well, I'm doing the old way. Okay, cool. No problem. Just fix it. So it's just a constant method of readjusting. But when you do NLP goes in and rewires the brain and the nervous system very, very quickly. And so most of the time people won't return to the old ways. There will be some shift, some change, even if it's 1%. That 1% at the end could be a huge difference. And if you want more changes, you just go back and you just you practice that process again. So you reinforce the learning and the change. The more you reinforce that change, the more it becomes standard practice. And here's the thing that I like to do. There's this really neat thing that I witnessed and experienced recently. You know how when we accomplish something, a lot of people talk about, well, you should reward yourself. So it's great. Most people reward themselves by going to dinner, or they go on a trip, or they take a break, or they go work out, or they get to watch their favorite show, eat their favorite food, whatever it is. But the thing is, they just go and they travel and they go to that to eat, or they go to that movie, or whatever it is that they do. But they often, what I found is they don't link that good feeling, that experience, that reward back to the accomplishment. So what I like to do is I like to link it back to the accomplishment, where I go, oh, this is really great. I'm really enjoying this. Why is it that I get to do this? Oh, because I accomplished that. Right. So I'm so glad that I accomplished that, because I get to have this fun and enjoy this. So I create this feedback loop inside of my being, inside of my brain, and inside of my body, inside of my nervous system, inside of my emotional body, so that I have this constant reminder that says, this is so much fun. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really glad I'm getting to do this. And why do I get to do this again? Oh, right, because I accomplished that. Every time I accomplish this, I feel so amazing, because I get to come and do the fun stuff too. So you can see the smile on my face is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because as I loop it in my head and I even speak the words, I just start feeling better and better and better. I get more energetic and more excited. And I'm like, cool, what's the next thing I can accomplish? What's the next thing I can do? Because I get to have that reward. When you link the reward with the action that you accomplished, that you did, and then you look at that action that you did, that accomplishment, and you tie that to every time I do it, I get to feel this and go and do this and have this experience. All of a sudden you create this loop and you feel better. When you feel better, you do more. And it stays because it creates that practice process that becomes that habit, that new habit. And when it does that, all of a sudden, that which you wanted to change becomes a lifelong change. And all you have to do is go back periodically and rewarm it up.
I am so glad you're talking about how you anchor it with your clients. You want to know one of the things I do when I'm launching books with my clients?
Yes, what?
Whether it's books, a movie, the podcast here, music. Not only does it trigger both sides of the brain, but you can grab your wrist, you can grab your ear, you can grab your whatever, but check this out. You anchor it to a song, and now every time you hear that song, it triggers it. Mm-hmm. So every time I've launched a book, there's a song that is like my theme song. And even when I was working on the podcast, I have a theme song for this. So I have my launch song. And the cool thing is, it can be any song you want, but when you have one that's current, it's like, you could be having the worst day in the world. You're running late for something. There's traffic. You forgot to do XYZ. Maybe the feed drops. Who knows what's going on? But then out of nowhere, you're like, oh, it's my song. And
that's my song.
All those emotions come back to it.
Yes. I love that. I actually was listening to music before we got on here too, because I love music. And I remember going through a leadership training out in San Diego called Ascension Leadership Academy. And that was one of the things that we did. We also linked those good feelings with music and specific songs also. And that really does remarkable things for people. Again, it's a practice process though. Don't do it once and expect it to always be there. And it's not just that you sort of link it, you emotionally link it. You raise up that vibration. You bring in the energy and the emotion and the feeling and the experience that you want as you're listening to that music. And the more you do that, the more you up-level that emotion while you're listening to that music, and you link all the different pieces in your mind and your body and your nervous system. As the more you do that, the more that song is going to actually trigger you quicker and more and stronger. I actually use a trigger or an anchor, an old samurai anchor, where they would tap the back of their teeth 3 times. And I use that to bring 3 different experiences and emotions to empower myself, to feel excited and happy and joyful, and also to feel powerful and confident and focused, right? And so I will tap the back of my tongue, and then I'll sort of dip my head a little bit, because it reminds me of being in Japan one time, and one of my martial arts teachers, my martial arts teacher, there were about 150 people in the dojo that day, a lot of people in the dojo. We had Japanese television cameras in there. And my martial arts teacher said, PJ, come up and do a technique. And I wish I still had this video. It was such a great technique. And my friend punches me, and I take him down really quickly. He punches, I move my head out of the way, I capture his arm between my head and my shoulder, and I'm able to take him off balance enough to drop him. And then as he starts to get up, my Japanese teacher, Hatsumi Sensei, says, "Uga duga duga duga." That's my best Japanese, right? And he says whatever he says to Rob, and my friend Rob turns around and he hands him a sword, a bamboo sword. And Rob grabs the sword and he turns around. He doesn't turn around and get into Kamai or posture or position or anything like that. Rob grabs the bamboo sword and he turns around and he swings it as fast as he can at me, right at my neck, like he's planning on taking my head off of my body. And as he swings it, you can hear everybody in the audience go, and you can hear the blade cutting the air. And immediately, as I see him do that, he doesn't even warn me. I literally just duck and turn my head sideways, and it goes right over my ear, barely brushes the hairs on my ear. And I pop back up on the other side of the blade, and I'm close enough. He's close enough at this point for me to reach forward, grab him by his wrist between my arm and my chin, and buckle his balance, cause him to fall, and I've got the sword. He falls on my left side. I've got the sword on my right side. Amazing, right? That was power. That was focus. That was confidence. That was drive. And that's one of the things that I anchor into this. Another time is being on stage in front of 1,000 entrepreneurs, speaking and feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm alive again, right? And another time was when a friend of mine challenged and made some of the women in my life feel really, really unsafe. And I had to step up to him and turn on that masculine energy. So he realized that what he was doing was no longer acceptable in my presence, right? And so I linked all of those together. I anchored all of those to that tapping behind my teeth like the samurai, and then ducking my head like that. It's on, bro. Like I'm immediately empowered, strong, focused, driven. And I'll use this in the middle of the night if I'm working late. I'll use this in the middle of the day. I'll use this if I'm feeling, a little bit tired. Boom, immediately I'm on and I'm ready to go. And right now you can even see my facial, expressions are different. The tone of voice is different. Like I'm amped and ready to go. And I'm just talking about it and just did that. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
Brings you right back to it, huh?
Right back to it. Anchoring is powerful stuff. And I love that you anchor it to music.
So the last thing I want to ask you before you share where people can find you is about some books. What is your favorite book you could recommend?
Wow, that is a fantastic question. Right now, I would tell you that it's Principles by Ray Dalio.
Okay.
Dalio, Ray Dalio. Might be Dalia, it might end with an A, but it's called Principles. The reason that I like this is because Ray is talking about identifying the core principles that you live by and creating a system that you literally can say, okay, when I'm in this situation, here's my step 1, step 2, step 3, the process that I go through to help solve problems. Brilliantly written, amazing, reads like warm butter cut with a sharp knife, smooth. It's delicious. So I would say right now that is one of my biggest and favorite books. And I'm not all the way through it yet, but I love every single page. I love what he's teaching. I love the principles that are coming out of me. I love the wisdom that he's helping me to identify, that my innate wisdom, and identifying where I am and what's most important to me. So we can live by our highest principles. So we can raise that standard for ourselves. So we can set up a system that we can very easily track and move through our lives. It makes life simple.
Love it. I appreciate you for sharing. So where can people find you? Because I know they're definitely going to want more.
Oh, I hope so. They can find me on the Facebook pages that you're on, PJ's Wisdom, or just P.J. Dixon, Dixon. And again, PJ's Wisdom is P.J.'S Wisdom. Or you can just go more simply, just go to pjswisdom.com, pjswisdom.com.
Very good. Well, I appreciate you for sharing with us. It's been an absolute honor and privilege. You've inspired me once again.
Super duper honor and privilege for me. I loved it. I love you. This is so fun. I love your audience and everybody out there who stayed long enough to listen to the very end. I love you too. Even if I don't know you, I have love for you. And the world is a better place because your heart is in it. So don't quit. Keep going. Have a vision and move towards that vision. And remember this too, real quick, one last thing. When people feel like they're not reaching their potential, it's because they think their potential is out there. That is just a guide to tell you where you can go. Your potential is where you are right now. Until you say to yourself, I don't think I'm meeting my potential, then you simply say, well, what can I do to meet my potential right now? To get me towards that person that I see myself on the top of that mountain. Because as you get to that top of that mountain, that person is just going to go further. That potential is going to go further. You're never going to meet that potential. You're going to meet the potential you have in the moment. So don't beat yourself up and think that you're not there, because you are. And if you feel like you're not in your potential, it's because you can do more in this moment. And so when you start to do more in this moment, you get closer and closer to what you perceive as your potential, which really is just your North Star, your guiding light, your partner belaying you from the top of the mountain instead of belaying you from the bottom of the mountain. A climbing reference, if anybody knows what belaying is.
Well, I appreciate you for sharing that with us.
I love you. Thank you so much. This was a blast. I absolutely loved it. And I would do this with you again anytime in a heartbeat. All right, buddy. I love you a ton. Have a great rest of your night and a great next interview.
Love you too, brother. Thanks again. You're already successful. You've worked hard to get where you are. We both know it wasn't overnight and hasn't always been easy. No doubt you're the expert on your subject matter. But do your prospects in your marketplace think of you first as their go-to trusted advisor all the time? ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com is 100% free and reveals the 21 steps to determine if your prospects view you as the expert and authority of your marketplace or if it's just all in your mind. Important required steps like, do you have a process in place for prospects to self-identify if they qualify for your time and expertise or not? Does your current offer have the 7 components of an irresistible offer required to make it a no-brainer for your prospects? Do you have a real-life paperback book showcasing you as the subject matter expert you can actually hand someone? Get your free checklist now at ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com. Once again, Expert Authority Checklist to make sure you have the 21 steps covered. It better not be more, but don't leave those 1 or 2 things you may have missing go any longer. Visit ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com and make sure you're being seen as the expert and authority today. Once again, that's ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com. Get your copy now.
Spare change? How's that going to make a difference? I know that's what I thought before I started investing with Acorns. Throwing change in a jar is not very leverage and time consuming, but what about all the transactions you don't use cash for? You know, like majority? Acorns not only invest your spare change automatically with roundups, it also lets you add a preset amount to each transaction regardless. It's pretty inspiring to see how quickly and easily you can end up with a pile of cash instead of a pile of receipts. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/acorns. EA Interviews, bonus footage. Well, audio.
Hey, that's crazy that it ended in last, at the very end like that. But what I like is that even though we've been kicked out a few times, we come back. It's like a little adventure. We're not worried. We're not angry. We're not frustrated. Right? We just keep going. I love that. I love that you keep that same calm demeanor that I do. It's super, super cool, super fun. So I don't mind one bit that we've gotten kicked out. It actually makes it, a little more entertaining, a little more adventurous.
So here's what I'm going to do is I have all of this recorded and clearly it's live. I'm going to put a little bonus footage of this, but the final one, obviously I'm going to edit out for that. But yeah, it's been interesting. And here, I firmly believe that all this is happening because your message is so powerful without a doubt in my mind. And because sometimes it goes completely smooth and that's not to take away from other people, but every time in my life, I remember one time a few years ago, I was at a leadership conference. They were talking about making an impact on the world. And I'm going back like before it was a twinkle in the eye or a thought in the mind or whatever it was. And I remember I was debating about going to the leadership training and had a lot of challenges just getting there. Then I went there and forgot about pretty much everything, like you're talking about being in that place. And then on the way back, they said, we're having a special get together. We're going to get some food. But then it was like, if you want to go to this thing, and I qualified based on what I was doing, it wasn't open for everyone. It was like a select few. And I'm like, heck yeah, I want to go. Spun out on the freeway.
Wow.
Hit the side of the concrete.
Wow. Are you okay?
Yeah, well, I'm here.
I mean, obviously, right? Spoiler alert.
But here's the thing. You know what? I'm watching the cars come at me, and I'm going, dang it, now I got to turn around. I'm running behind. They're going to be I was just like, it was a little surreal, but I was thinking about it, and I was just like, yeah, this is going to work. I'm supposed to make a big impact, and there's going to be a lot of opposition. And you know what, there's people that don't want us to succeed, and there's forces that don't want us to succeed, and we're succeeding, baby, because we're moving forward with this. So I'm debating if I should just leave this part in here. This will probably be the bonus footage, so I got to go back to where we were. You were answering the question, you were sharing the book and everything. But I'm going to say thanks for the book recommendation. We'll pick it up, and
let me just add to what you said.
Sure.
I agree with you 100%. There are forces that don't want this to go out, and I've had this happen a lot, where I start to share something and we start to go really deep, and the phone will die, or Zoom will die, or whatever. And we try and get on, and we go for a little while, and it dies again. And so I didn't know where you were coming from spiritually, but I absolutely believe that happens sometimes. So it's fascinating to me that you would experience and witness it in something very similar. You know, whatever it is, the message is powerful.
I'm going to smile and laugh a bit, because you're saying it's interesting you're experiencing this. Every single thing today. This is my first time doing 4 to 5 in a row. I had 6 lined up, back to back to back to back. Mm-hmm. And in 2 months, I did 12 or 13 of them. And today alone, 6 were scheduled. Mm-hmm. This week is going to be 8 to 10.
Nice.
And before every single one, I'm just going, please. And I'm not stopping. So I just left the feed going, and I have one. I looked, I'm going, holy crap. I mean, we've been knocking it out of the park, but I'm going, I have another one at 8.
Yeah.
So
I actually have another one right after us too. Mine is in another hour. In an hour. Well, actually I have to sign on in about 35, 40 minutes. So yeah, you and I are the same. And
don't stop, keep going.
Don't stop. Get it, right? Absolutely. We keep going. Why? Because that's what we do. I don't know how to quit. You don't know how to quit. We want to refine. We want to perfect. We want to make things better. We want to impact the world. We want to make the world a better place. You don't quit. You keep getting up, right? There's a great quote in the great question in the movie Batman, right? When Bruce Wayne, the boy, falls through the well and breaks his leg, and his dad says, "Why do we fall, Bruce?" To learn to get back up, right? Absolutely. So it's not about falling. It's about getting back up. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you shared that. That's actually one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Me too.
Of any movie.
Yes.
Another one is, I think it's the first one, the Batman Begins, when he goes, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't need to save you.
That's right. And also I love the one where he's in prison and Liam Neeson comes in and he says, there's something more, a legacy. Become a legacy, right? Or become legend, I think. Become a legend, right? So that's powerful. What are we leaving behind? What is the impact we're making? It's not about people remembering my name, although that's pretty cool, right? But it's more about how have we powerfully shaped and changed the world to come? How have we made the world a better place for the children to come? How have we made the relationships between people or between companies or between countries better? Like, I can't do everything. You can't do everything, but collectively, everything can be done. We are one. It's just a process of coming back together, right? Just don't quit. Get back up. In spirituality, people talk about the path or the way, right? And the path and the way, people think, oh, it's when I'm in that state of presence. It's when I'm in that love. It's when I'm really connected. No, that is the isness. The way, the path, is when your mind has wandered and you turn again and come back to that presence and come back to that love, come back to that connection, come back to that alignment. That's the way. That's the path of returning. That's the way. Right?
Well, I'm so thankful for you for sharing with us.
Thanks for listening to the episode. I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Let's continue the conversation over in the community, expertauthorityworld.com. We can have discussions, talk about the episodes, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Once again, expertauthorityworld.com.